In Book 3 of the Iliad, we begin by seeing the great Trojan warrior Hector, the eldest son of King Priam, approach his younger brother Paris. And he scolds him. He says, I'm now quoting, "Paris, you desperate, womanizing, pretty boy, I wish you had never been born. Better that than this disgrace before the troops. Can't you just hear it, the long-haired Greeks chuckling and saying that our champion wins for good looks, but comes up short in the fighting? You're nothing but trouble for your father and your city, a joke to your enemies and an embarrassment to yourself." So this is the elder brother, Hector, reading the riot act to Paris and basically saying, yeah, you're a great seducer, bringing Helen over here. Look what it's got us. You're a disgrace to your family and to your country. Look at all the harm you've done. Now, this chastisement gets to Paris. And Paris agrees with Hector that Hector should propose a one-on-one duel between Paris and Menelaus. Menelaus, of course, the husband of Helen of Troy. And basically Hector says, listen, if you get killed, you get killed. But this is a way to, you want to fight over Helen? Fight over Helen. And the winner gets her. And this will spare the rest of us all this hardship and all this bloodshed. Now, of course, Menelaus, who's a seasoned old fighter, quickly agrees to this idea. Paris is not exactly known for his prowess on the battlefield. And sure enough, in Homer's description, Paris is taking a massive beating. In fact, he's on the verge of being killed by Menelaus. And then we have, well, divine intervention. Divine intervention in the form of Aphrodite. Now, Aphrodite is on the side of the Trojans, but most especially she's on the side of Paris. I need to pull back at this point and describe a scene that is part of the story of the Trojan War, but is not in the Iliad at all. It's not clear whether or not Homer knows this story. He probably does, but he doesn't allude to it anywhere in the Iliad. It's called the Judgment of Paris. So evidently, before the Trojan War, in fact, before Paris even met Helen, there was an argument among the three of the goddesses on Mount Olympus. And they all went to Paris and they said, you should pick me. In other words, they wanted Paris to pick one of them as their favorite, as his favorite. And Hera, the wife of King Zeus, said to Paris, if you pick me, I will give you command over many cities. I will give you, in a sense, political control and superiority. And then Athena, the goddess of war and also of justice, says to Paris, if you pick me, I will give you great strength in battle, and I will give you great valor. And Aphrodite, the goddess of love, basically said, if you pick me, I will give you as your wife the most beautiful woman in the world. So Paris, I'm about to say being a man, picked Aphrodite. But I want to emphasize that when I say this, I hold myself back because Paris, in picking Aphrodite, goes against the values of his own society. In the values of ancient Greece, of the Homeric society, if you will, Paris should absolutely have picked military glory first. Control over a major city second, and marrying the most beautiful woman in the world third. But instead, he goes the other way and he picks Aphrodite. And so this is the beginning of the problem, because having picked Aphrodite, who's the most beautiful woman in the world? Well, it's actually, Aphrodite is not the most beautiful woman because she's a goddess. She represents, you may say, physical and sexual love. But the most beautiful woman in the world is Helen. And so since Aphrodite promised the most beautiful woman in the world to Paris, so happens she's married to Menelaus, this is the beginning of all the difficulty. You can see here how divine action, and in fact the so-called judgment of Paris, is the beginning of the Trojan War, because the gods themselves have now arranged for Paris to abduct Helen. Now, again, as I say, the action works on the divine level and the human level. But let's fast forward now. And here we are. Paris is taking a beating from Menelaus. He's lying prostrate on the battlefield. He cannot get up. He's about to be speared. And what happens? Aphrodite goes onto the battlefield. Aphrodite whisked Paris away with the sleight of a goddess, enveloping him in mist and lofting him into the incensed air of his vaulted bedroom. Aphrodite sort of saves Paris. And here again, I want to emphasize that Aphrodite can't be a fiction of Paris's imagination. Aphrodite actually goes on the battlefield, lifts him up and carries him, puts him into his own bed in his bedroom, and then goes, well, to get Helen.